here back home and my brother.
We are here behind the scenes.
Yes. Wait, let me get that. You like it? Yeah. Okay. No, listen, we gotta make it right now.
You guys give us just a second.
Yes.
Okay.
Come on. Where you go?
That's all the time.
Oh, yes.
It's misleading.
Perfect. All that black and white is good. Y'all color coordinated. Come on, coordinated. One more for love.
Hey, y'all,
Yes, I like that one.
go out there and use IG. Yo, let the people know.
Thank you. Have a good week. Thank you. On Facebook. Okay. Yeah, that's cute. Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much. Sit here for a few
Have a
minutes.
good one.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll be out here hollering. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, y'all ready? You want to do sound on this one? Because I had to get
Yeah.
check this one.
Okay.
Make sure my
Mic
don't
check,
come on.
1 2 1 2. It's Latriva Deneen here for you,
check.
boy.
Yeah.
I check. I
Thank
don't hear
you.
myself. Oh, now I do.
Okay.
That's good.
Yeah.
We are.
All right.
All that
There
back.
we is. Girl, Miss Mimi, aka Mimi the Great.
Yeah. All right. Let me pop this real fast.
Pop that, pop that.
Sounds good. That should be a dance
I
move or
definitely
something.
like this height. I need to remember to do
Love power.
Yes. Radio show.
Ocean number 9.
Yes. I used to wonder, like, before I knew about the behind the scenes stuff, you know, I used to think that being, and not that it isn't, but being on radio was easy. You know, they go in and do what they got to do and they leave.
Yeah.
And I remember one of the personalities saying, "Oh no,
Mr.
we're going to
Esquire,
4 o'clock this morning." And I was like, first of all,
How you doing, man?
that part.
Right. Wow.
You know what I was.
You know, we don't even hear your voice
Show,
until
man.
2.
It's really good.
Why are you here for it?
Why? I don't hear you until I get in the car itself.
Girl.
You know if I say real
And y'all been weird. What?
I can't wait. I cannot wait to do full-time radio.
Yeah. I'm
Oh,
excited.
Hey, y'all introduce yourselves to my followers real quick.
Hey there, I am Latriva Deneen. How are you? Welcome to the Love Power Radio Show.
Yes.
Tune in and come back after this episode.
Yes. It's your girl, Miss Mimi, aka Mimi the Great. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you check us out on Facebook and Instagram, Love Power Radio Show. We'd love to see you. And subscribe to our channel,
Hey,
Stunner Radio YouTube on YouTube.
Yes.
Subscribe. Click the button.
click it.
Okay.
Click it.
And what about the engineer? You gotta give love to
Hey,
him.
how you doing?
You make
my,
it
name,
happen.
my name is Jose Vanguard Media. Check us out wherever you are.
AKA Carlos.
AKA yes, AKA Carlos. Yes. All right.
Already tuned in. Hey, what's up, Tarska? Tarska said, hey,
Tarska's
family. Hey, y'all.
Yeah,
Hey,
we're
boo.
gonna jump on it right now. Yes.
What up, Tars?
Let's get this money. Let's get this money.
Joe.
Jay Garcia, a mainstream urban AC.
As the holiday season approaches, look no further for custom jewelry and waist beads than Kimberly & Company. Featuring natural stones, crystals, unique and vintage beads, you're sure to find a gift even for the person who has everything. Purchase necklaces, bracelets, and waist beads individually or purchase a set for a better value. Direct and contactless delivery is available. Visit us on Facebook at Kimberly & Co. for more information or to make a purchase. And don't forget to mention Stunner Radio to get a 15% discount or free shipping.
Organization
Stand by 5 seconds.
for those living with conduct disorder. To make a donation or find out more about conduct disorder, visit www.compassforcd.org.
Hey, what's up? It's your girl, Miss Mimi, aka Mimi the Great, and it is the Love Power Radio Show.
Welcome back, friends.
Thank you, honey.
I miss you
Oh,
so
boy.
much. Oh my God. Me and you, us never part.
Yes, in case you didn't know, that's my home girl, my sis sitting across the table.
Hey y'all, it's Latriva Denise.
That's
How
short
y'all
for
doing?
Latriva D.
You so silly.
Lord, I'm just like,
Oh, I can't believe you are here. You're like
I know.
a dream come true.
You're like a dream come true. 'Cause
No.
listen, y'all have to give a shout out where shots out are due. Because my girl came in, like, can I say clueless?
Okay, yes.
To how to do this, right?
Totally
She
clueless.
came in and
Thank you.
done it.
Thank you.
And has been dunting it since she's been
I
here,
just
and I'm
wanna
so
make you
grateful.
proud.
Listen, I'm excited to actually have you as my
Me
co-host.
too.
Like, you just don't know.
Me too.
Me and Treva, I've been knowing Treva for a minute, and she was always this person that I respected and loved. She was very forward, very assertive, very matter of fact in everything, and I always wanted to know, like, would she ever be my best friend?
Yes.
And so when life happened,
She said yes.
and she said yes. When life happened, and I remember asking our Sarah, hey, you know anybody that wants to come on and talk about this particular topic? And she was like, oh yeah, Latriva. And I was like, Latriva? Which Latriva you talking about? I don't know too many Latriva.
Exactly. I'm like, I'm not.
And when it was her, and then a conversation after that, when somebody said, well, you need a co-host, so what about? And I was like, oh,
That was first.
I don't know.
Thank you for the chance.
So I'm excited to have you as my co-host, and so y'all better love on her.
Thank you.
Right?
So good. You
Yeah.
you laid a foundation for me. You set a great example. And like I said, I just wanted to make you proud while you were out there in the street.
I'm grateful. So, because that's what we about to do.
Yeah.
We got to take over these
Let's
streets.
go.
So you already know. I want to know. I'm nosy like that. How was your week?
You talking to me? Yeah. I had a great week. It started off kind of crazy, kind of stressful, just because, life. But there were things that happened over the course of this week that allowed me to recognize that I was holding on to weight by choice.
Yeah.
That there were things that have been weighing me down, that have been keeping me from getting to my goals, that have made me believe that I was not worthy. Period, point blank. That I didn't deserve, that I was going to forever be in this place mentally. And once I realized that I could choose to untether myself from the things that were no longer serving me, it was just like, the heavens opened up.
I'm telling you,
And
really
so
like
there has been, I think that was Wednesday. So I've just had this excitement since then because I can see that there is a future that holds great promise for me, right? And so I am choosing to step into the path and into the flow that's going to get me where I want to be. And that every big dream that I have, I can get to it because the only restriction is in my mind.
That's it.
And when I realize that inside my mind, all of those restrictions really don't exist. So that ultimately means that there are no restrictions.
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm like, yo, all of this stuff, the fear, I ain't got no money, I don't know who, I don't know how.
Yeah.
All of those were made up, bro. So once I can let all of the ideas go that is for other people and not for me, then the sky is the limit, right? So it has been an amazing, since Wednesday, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm just dope. I'm just excited. Well, I didn't mean to say that, but I guess I did. I'm just dope.
Yeah. You dope.
But I'm super excited about the future, about our future, about the things that we have planned, and just in general, it's easy to be in this place in time in our minds that feels real hopeless.
Yes.
But I choose.
Yeah.
I choose.
And that is a choice.
I choose.
That is a
to
choice.
see hope, right?
Yes.
And I'm just excited, man. It's gonna be a great week. It's gonna be a great week for the rest of my life.
Yes.
It's about to be a great week.
Yes.
So I'm excited.
Yes. Me too.
And I'm excited for our guests today. I'm excited to be here with you. It's just awesome.
That dance. So, and speaking of our guests, we have here the infamous, I will say, I can say that, Jay Kyle of J-Pow Grooming. So you have to tell us. I did, and I meant it. So you have to tell us, how was your week? We want to know.
Oh man, how was my week? My week was great. Worked a lot. I've been on this project, and I guess I'll drop this real quick. I just wrote my first book, so that was crazy. And I finished it on time. I wanted to finish it by today. Gave myself 6 weeks to do it. So for all the long nights of still having to go to work first thing in the morning, but go to bed at 3, get up at 7, go to work. It's been a great week. I feel accomplished. I finally did something.
Congratulations!
Yeah, that's awesome. I need to be as adamant as you on some 6 weeks.
Girl, 6 weeks of
not
what?
Eating bread, not eating chocolate.
Girl,
6 weeks of
6 weeks of going to bed on time.
6 weeks of just walking every day. But anyway, it's a whole bunch of things I want to do 6 weeks. It's only 6 weeks, and then I get to the end of week 1. It's like, you know what?
I get to day 2 in the morning.
And rethink the options in my life right now. But so again, look, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm back. And I missed you so much. So week 1, I went to, I had the women's conference that was here in Houston. I got a chance to speak in front of women and encourage them. And it was interesting for me because I'm shy, right?
No.
Really?
You shy?
Why they would not cooperate? I'm shy. So it was an out the box thing for me. When I remember when the lady asked me, she didn't ask, she made a statement. She said, "Oh yeah, Miss Mimi, you're speaking." And I was like, "Wait, what? Whoa." And so I couldn't say no because I knew it was one of those things that God was like, "Oh, but you said you wanted this. In order to do that, you got to do this." And that this was speaking in front of people. So, okay. And I thought I was going to go in and douse it with a bunch of scriptures.
Right.
Come on,
right. And show you how. And no.
That's not how that works.
That's not how that works. I remember thinking, oh, Lord, what am I going to speak? What am I going to talk about? And God gave me one word, speak. And I was like, okay, so is there more?
Right. Is that the word or is that what you're telling me to do?
Right. And I was for a minute. And he was like, you tripping, just speak. And I was like, okay. Is there more?
That's it. No, not even when you squeeze it out.
That actually does not.
Nothing. It didn't. So the day of, and I did come up with some things. I did. And then the day of, everybody that spoke in front of me gave one word, and then they gave their scriptures and their bases. And when it was right before it was time for me, and even the scripture the young lady read when she introduced me, I was like, wow, okay, that's wasn't expecting that. And then he was like, make it plain. Bring it to where they can understand just something that I like. Make this plain. Do 1 + 1 = 2, please. Because I don't thee and thine and thou oughtst. And
who understands that? It's not even.
The people who wrote it, that's about it.
Exactly. It's not even the way we speak.
I don't. It's not. And so, can you please? And so, I was that one that was allowed, given the opportunity to, I understand the purpose, because that was what one lady talked about, the transparency. And she look, get off my toes, first of all. I don't want to tell people, and I talked about the fear in, being transparent with people and showing them, okay, I have a scar from this, I have a scar from the divorce, I have a scar from being cheated on, I have a scar from, and still I rise. I'm still here, right? So, and then I talked about it tied, I was allowed to tie it all into speak. Get that weight off you.
Come on.
Because when you hold it in and you choose to not be transparent because of the fear, that fear weighs you down.
And you're going to sing.
You trying to get an offering over this? You really talking real good, right?
I'm just saying.
What's your cash app?
Why you asking? But yeah, that's so. And then last week I was able to go and do the red carpet hosting and model in fashion show in Charlotte. And so, in spite of everything, models not coming at the last minute, the makeup people that we went to confirm with when we got there Thursday to make sure they were coming. We had to go to both locations of the school. Yeah, we'll be there.
Right.
Nobody.
Okay.
And one of the guys that was supposed to be helping coordinate, just go to the school. They're there. Closed.
No.
Yeah. Okay. So in spite of all of that, designers not showing up. the fashion show
Every
was
obstacle possible.
yeah, and it was a hit. So
Awesome.
I was pleased with that, and that was
awesome.
yeah, you know,
Yeah.
and at the end of it, it was like, you know what, y'all, we still started on time.
Yeah.
We had the perfect amount of designers
Yeah.
and models, and everything just went boom, boom,
That's
boom.
awesome.
There was no hiccups. You didn't miss the people that didn't come.
That's
You didn't
awesome.
miss the makeup artists
That's
that didn't
awesome.
come. So, you know, for my peeps, look, life is gonna hit you.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Keep going.
You know, it's crazy because I think a lot of times things like that happen. Especially, I think that was good for you. I think that happened specifically for you because had all those things been in place, where would God had the room to get glory out of
That's
it?
I'm trying to tell you.
That's
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Yeah.
So all those things happened for you, able to look back and be like, man, this thing still went off, and God was like, just speak, make it plain.
Yeah.
It just fell in place for you.
Yeah,
That's
right.
really dope.
And I think it was for me, because I know it's for me, because trust me, I've been in another space. I mean, like, see y'all. Because it's not going to happen, right? They ain't coming and, oh, woe is me, and oh my God, what could happen next? Because we do that. We're human.
Sure.
That's going to happen, right? And so to have the people that I had around me, shout out to Shy and her husband, Shy Shalonda, Shalonda Cleburne.
Yes.
I didn't want to say her name wrong. But she and her husband were there recording and filming behind the
Awesome.
scenes. And so to have that backup, so
Yeah.
to speak, was awesome. And that helped too, because she's way deeper in scripture than me. So
Right.
that was awesome. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was very helpful for all of us involved to know that God still is.
Mm-hmm.
Still.
Is making it
Still.
happen.
Yes.
Okay? I'm just saying.
Just saying.
And so, with that being said, we're gonna let God be still is while
Yes.
we take this commercial
Here
break.
we go.
Are
you
you
back?
tired of bad hair days, dry, damaged hair?
Are you tired of bad hair days, dry, damaged hair, and lackluster curls? We know the struggle is real. Earth's Nectar Hair Care is here to bring life back to your hair and take you from struggle to shine. Offering organic, cruelty-free hair care options, we focus on giving you salon quality with multi-use products to save time, money, and shelf space. Visit our website today at www.earthsnectar.com for thicker, stronger, healthier hair. And don't forget to mention Stunner Radio at checkout.
The next event, the Trip of the Need.
Personality, charisma, and style. A true star ready to shine at your next event. Latriva Deneen, radio personality and event host, will make your event the place to be and provide lasting memories for your audience. If you want to take your event to the next level, book Latriva Deneen to be your host, MC, moderator, or red carpet interviewer and host. Contact her at Latriva Deneen on Facebook and Instagram for booking information and pricing. And make sure to mention Stunner Radio sent you.
And next to me is our special guest,
What up? It's your man J. Cobb. J. Cobb Brewing.
Y'all hear all that bass? All that
Liz.
I can try to speak a little
deep
higher, but
timbre.
it doesn't.
No.
I heard some out the room.
Yeah, that's no matter. We're just not used to having all that rumble.
I mean, you know,
I need to back
like,
away from the mic.
No.
no.
Stay there.
Stay right there.
You hear all that bass, y'all?
So, yeah, thank you, Dave. So let's talk to our special guest, shall we?
Yay.
Because he does a lot of things.
Okay.
And I remember when we had conversation, because I met him at the family gathering birthday celebration of Michael's Eye. This is Michael's Eye Photography's brother.
Shout out to
And so I met him there, and I initially wanted to, yes, Michael, we are big. Michael said, "Oh, y'all big time with commercials and everything. How can I get immersed? Why?" But I met him there, and I know, right? So, but I met him there, and we had a conversation. I initially wanted to pick his brain about podcasting and all that, because I know he does podcasting. And so,
Who, the brother or Jay?
Jay.
Justin. Okay. Jay, sorry.
I know, right? How dare you? And so we initially talked about that, and then he started telling me a little bit about his story. And so, first of all, tell the people who you are, and then we're going to get into your story and why you're here.
Okay. Again, J. Cobb from J. Cobb Grooming. I am, I don't know exactly how to put some of that into words. Just, I'm a barber. I'm a brother. I just moved down to Texas last year, March of 2019, relocated from upstate New York. I'm a barber instructor for Paul Mitchell Barber School out in Arlington, national barber educator for John Paul Mitchell Systems. That's my professional life. Been cutting hair for 18 years now. On the outside of things, I'm a podcaster. I have my own podcast show called Life Grooming. The podcast, you can find that on all the social media platforms that do podcasting. Outside of that, I am a minister. I am a poet. I run a men's Bible study group back in Arlington with a friend of mine, and I also am responsible for co-hosting a young adult group we call Places back there. So I find myself continuing to just share God's love and truth through a bunch of different mediums. I'm just a creative person who likes to give what God has given me creatively, and I could probably go on for another 10, 15 minutes of all the other stuff I do, so I'll cap it with that.
Okay.
I mean, so I don't have enough ink in my pen anyway for the rest of it. Oh, I'm just kidding.
Okay. We'll just let him talk.
Yeah.
And it's funny because we were talking about that on the way over here, and it was like, you don't really pay attention to all this stuff you do until someone asks you, like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I kind of, yeah. Oh, well, then I actually kind of, and now I do.
And now I think
about it. And so and now a new author, and so that's been really, really good. Excited about that. And then I'm getting ready to release my website next week.
Okay.
So
with all of these things.
Yes. So
one-stop shop.
Yeah. The lifegroomingsuite.com will be up and running next Saturday. So I just got to stay connected to the IG page for the announcements. But I mean, this is what I'm doing, man. Like I said, meet me out there, and God decided to have us meet at a conversation at the kitchen table. Everybody else was asleep. I was just up cleaning, and it was a God thing because there was like about 10, 12 of us in the house, and it was always busy. And it just happened to be this one night that she was up, I was up, and we just got to talking. And next thing I know, I'm on a plane to Houston to talk about some stuff I've never talked about over here.
We're so grateful.
I felt like his story needed to be told because it's one that I feel like isn't discussed enough. Right. So for him to be able to sit and talk about being a survivor of domestic violence, one is huge.
Absolutely.
Right. It deserves to be celebrated. So congrats on that. And then so when he was talking about it, I wanted to run. But I know better, right?
You could
have. Right. Know my limits. Know my lane. Know my limits. Know my lane.
It was in your brain.
What it was. I just did sprint. But anyway, so and then when I asked him, oh my God, can you please, would you be willing to come on the show and talk about it? He was like, absolutely.
Awesome.
So I initially thought he was going to say no. So I was ready to, but he said yes. And I was like,
there was no need to but.
So let's talk about that relationship. How, I don't want to say how you ended up in an abusive relationship, but.
I guess the reality of it is most relationships don't necessarily start off that way.
Right.
As mine did not. It started under the guise of, it's us against the world and we're going to make it happen.
Right.
And the reality is, through all those experiences, the truth of our inadequacies is what showed. You know what I mean? And it's really hard sometimes because when you look at this topic of domestic violence, we tend to do like everything else. We look at it through the lens of how society paints it. And not that it's necessarily wrong. It's just not always the full picture.
Right.
It's easy to make the person who is the violator a monster.
Right.
And the person who was violated the angel of it. And if I did that, I'd be 100% wrong. Not to say that I deserve it, because I don't believe any person who goes through that experience of going through domestic violence deserves that, because there's always other options.
Right.
But it was one of those where the relationship was seemingly good, but when you do hindsight, like, okay, well, there was red flags. We could have picked this up a long time ago. And then it got worse. Time progression got worse. And it just so happened to be, unfortunately, that how her inadequacies and my inadequacies showed themselves showed itself through the lens of verbal abuse, physical abuse. And it's kind of hard, at first it's kind of hard to say, because again, you think of it, and when you're in the middle of it, I'll speak for myself. When I was in the middle of it, I didn't really put the abuse word in.
Okay.
It was just, it was just what it was.
Right.
And not that I liked it, it's just what it was. There was guilt there. So, I kind of took on that. It's like, I guess I kind of deserve it, that type of situation.
Wow.
And it really wasn't until I started to get some therapy and some help. And it dawned on me, I was like, and I literally said this, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a Lifetime channel character. I'm one of those people.
Wow.
I was like,
dang it.
yeah, I was like, wait, am I one of those people that didn't you wonder why you stayed through it? Because you watch the movies like, you better leave. Why would you stay?
Yeah.
And I'm like, bro,
that was me.
That was me.
Yeah.
And so it opened my eyes to a reality that I wasn't fully aware of. And it took me down some other tunnels that were hard. But thank God for putting people in your life that understand and that's willing to walk you through.
Right.
I got some help, got some actual therapy.
Nice.
And I had to learn, before I learned about the person who I was with, I learned more about me.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
And because I learned more about me, I was able to put everything in a proper perspective. I still had to deal with the consequences. Mental, physical challenges, PTSD is a real thing.
Yeah, it is.
That's a very real thing. And as a man, you kind of don't really hear about, you don't hear a lot about men being, victim or survivor or whatever, adjective like to put into it. But I was looking at some stats today, and the number of cases where men are the victim in a domestic violence is not that far behind women.
Wow.
It's really not that far. I screenshotted it earlier. The number was staggering because it was somewhere around maybe 40% or 45% for men and like 38% for women. Interestingly enough, when it came to psychological abuse, what people say to you, the number of victims of men is higher than it is for women.
I didn't see that.
And and I was kind of like, wow. So being that I stood in the middle of those type of things and how they define it, psychological abuse is, something demeaning or calling you out of your name. You could take it to the brass tacks of just yelling.
Yeah.
And then if that's the case, probably everybody in the world is an abuser. But there are some things that really categorize abuse that's beyond the expression of frustration. So, it took a lot. It took a lot, but God is faithful because he really brought me through it. And the biggest lesson that I learned about it was that I did not have an identity. I did not have an identity. My identity was tied up in the pleasing and of that person. And my desire, and not that she forced that on me. That was just my desire. I wanted to be the superhero. I wanted to be, I'm the king. I wanted to be that so much so that I found myself, that's just all I was. I remember being at a point where I was like, God, I don't really know what to do right now. Like, I've tried everything. It's still not working. I was looking at myself. I'm like, man, I'm failing. I'm tired of failing. I'm tired of hearing that I'm a failure. And I just could not grasp what was going on. And like I said, through help and therapy, I learned that the first thing was that I had to get my identity. And I don't care what nobody says, if your identity is not in Christ, you are going to miss it. And I say that because, looking at this microphone in front of me, beautiful microphone, it's doing its job.
Right.
But the only way, and the only person who I could really talk about the exacts of this microphone isn't even the engineer, as well as he knows about it. It's the manufacturer. And so I had to take time with my manufacturer to find out, like, this is why all this is out of place. And unfortunately, the byproduct of me being out of place was experiencing some other challenges in my relationship. And part of that happened to be domestic violence.
So you mentioned that there were red flags. So how long were you in the relationship before things started to happen that made you kind of cock your head to the side? And
less than 6 months.
Yeah.
But when you want something, you want something.
Right.
And that
you're willing to do what you
6 months of marriage or 6 months of knowing each other?
Yeah, we weren't even married at the time.
Okay.
But even in that time, it was just one of those things where you want what you want. Transparently, I was coming out of another relationship, And it started off on this person is better than what I had the last time.
Yeah.
And so,
As most do.
right. So it was, I seen all the stuff that I wanted to see, disregarded the stuff that I should have been paying attention to, and was like, I'm gonna make it work. I can do this. You know, I'm a big boy. I can do it. You know, and if you took the time to think about it, it's like, bro, you just failed the first one you was in. So what make you think you're in a position to take care of the next one?
Right.
But that didn't matter.
Right.
Not to me. What mattered is I was getting what I thought I wanted, and I got more than what I bargained for.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what was the abuse that you experienced? Because you just mentioned, you know, there's more than just frustration or the expression of anger that makes someone an abuser.
Yeah. So there was physical abuse.
Okay.
So hitting, and I mentioned it in the poem. Hitting, pushing, tried to stab me. I'm got close to that one. Verbal abuse, psychological abuse.
Was that before any of the physical?
The psychological and the verbal before the physical.
Okay.
The physical evolved,
Okay.
and it was, you know, it started off with a few punches, and I think the very last one was an altercation, unfortunately, where, you know, I'm glad my hands are fast enough to stop. The scissors probably would have got me in my neck.
Wow.
So, you know, it was those type of disparities, you know, name calling out of name, calling you out of character, not just like calling you a bad word, but like stuff I wouldn't even say that over the internet. And it was just really psychological, verbal abuse as well as physical abuse. Yeah.
Wow. No, go ahead.
How long were you in the relationship?
Ooh. The better part, I'm gonna say approximately 6.5, 7-ish years.
Wow.
Yeah, and I would say that of that, I probably started experiencing the verbal, psychological as early as 6 months or later. The physical didn't evolve until maybe 3-4 years in, because there was a lot of dysfunction that had brewed within a relationship that started to build up, you know, these other events that were happening. So like I said, it didn't start off that way, but when the world is falling apart, and when someone, me, says that I got you, and you, the other person, has that expectation, and it's like, well, where are you? And again, it doesn't make it okay. It's just a fact of the matter. And so because that began to build more and more and more weight on the relationship, more struggles, and it became a cauldron of toxicity. It's just, we were just toxic for each other.
Wow.
Wow.
Were you, when the abuse began, were you transparent with your friends or did you, how long? I'm trying to get my question together.
Yeah. So, let's start with, were you transparent?
Yes. Were you transparent with your friends and your family?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
No. See, a part of trying to be a superhero and a golden boy is you do your best to make sure that the picture looks good. One, two, I am a big black man, and she wasn't tiny, but she was a woman. I wasn't about to try to play myself bro, I'm going through a situation, my wife is saying this. Yeah, she put her hands on me. Like, you just, unfortunately, there's not a lot of places, you know, where you can go and say that. So no, I wasn't open about it. Eventually, you know, it became a part of conversation for, you know, some counseling, but it was private counseling and just that. So
counseling is still good. And when we come back, we'll talk more about that. We have to take a break.
All right.
Don't let social distancing have you out here looking dusty. Get your sexy.
Don't let social distancing have you out here looking dusty. Get your sexy back at Exclusive Cuts Barbershop with Steph B. the Barber, offering haircuts for men, women, and children, as well as spa treatments and hair and beard enhancement. There's no better way to boost your confidence, improve your appearance, and accentuate your best features. Put your best foot forward and make a lasting impression with a fresh haircut and regular beard maintenance. Get faded today with Steph B. the Barber. Follow us on Instagram at Steph B. the Barber to book your appointment. That's STEFBDA Barber. Attention all divas. Hey, it's your girl Lisa Dene, and I want to tell you about my book of the month, Dating in the Age of Narcissism, A Woman's Survival Guide by Kimberly Michelle. If you're like me, you've experienced the ups and downs of the dating scene, and you may have gotten a bit discouraged. Don't give up. Kimberly Michelle is your new go-to girlfriend for dating advice. Purchase your copy today and get the relationship you want and desire. Available now on Amazon, or visit her Facebook page, Dating in the Age of Narcissism, and be sure to leave a review and tell her Stunner Radio sent you.
I got my girl.
It's me, Latriva Deneen. How y'all doing?
That's your friend, Latriva D. And of course, we're back with our special guest. So you were talking about on the end part of whether or not you were transparent with the abuse that you were experiencing in your relationship.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't transparent at all. I didn't feel I had the room to be, wasn't strong enough to be, wasn't brave enough to be. And quite frankly, I didn't have that type of support system.
Okay.
That there's a certain type of support system you need when you're dealing with that type of situation,
That's real.
whether you be male or female.
Yeah.
But especially, being the minority actually in this scenario.
Right.
So I didn't have that type of support. There was support, but not that type.
So when you have, and this is something that I've often wondered as it pertains to Black men, when you have experienced this and you're already, you're in it, you're sharing, you're comfortable sharing. Have you found that there are also other Black men who have these same sorts of stories that maybe they just never shared in your circle or outside of your circle?
In my circle, no.
Okay.
I know that they exist.
Okay.
In my circle, I haven't really experienced a lot of that. I've experienced a lot of maybe verbal,
Okay.
not physical. I can say I've experienced verbal. Other guys talk about verbal, but not physical. And like I said, that it just doesn't really cycle that much.
Okay.
That I should say, as far as it being spoken about.
What was the most helpful? Like, what was the thing that happened, or what did somebody say that made you realize, like, this is abuse and I need help?
That's a really good question. I think it got to a point where I had just given up. I had given up on trying. Like, I had tried all my efforts that I could to make it work. And I just couldn't do it. And I decided to kind of just take a step back and look at the whole picture, because I went through this phase where in my anger, and I think this is why most guys, especially Black guys, maybe won't identify it as abuse. In my anger, I just labeled her as an angry Black woman.
Right.
And so since I saw her as an angry Black woman, I could not look at it for what it was, because now I'm looking through the lens of blame only, instead of responsibility and accountability. But once I started to take more accountability of my actions and hers as well, I had to start looking at it for what the situation was.
Yeah.
Like, to say it's abuse doesn't mean that you're the devil. It just means this is abuse.
Right.
Like, this is wrong.
Yeah.
And I wasn't walking in the full reality of all of that.
Okay.
I had to get out of the scenario. Like, like sometimes people who go to rehab, they like move away from the town. I had to get away for me to get a bigger picture.
Okay.
Okay. So someone asked J. Cal, how would you tell a man's man who is going through being abused by a woman that it is okay as a man to get help?
To a man's man, I'm gonna keep it a buck with him. You're going through something that you shouldn't be going through. Love doesn't look like that.
That's it.
And you have to understand that you have value. You have to understand that you are a person. You have to understand that you have an identity, and your identity is not built on the back of her yes and her no. Your identity is built on the back of what God says yes, what God says no. You have to be willing to stand in who you are. And then I'd ask him, do you know who you are? Let's start there. Because if we take the time to keep pointing at her, we're going to miss it.
Everything.
We're going to miss it. And that was my biggest, I had to learn to stop looking at her first. I was doing that so much. And I then the problem was, because I was on this justification thing, I feel like, no, this isn't fair. But a whole bunch of things aren't fair.
That's true.
But once I was able to do that, I was also able to see that she was responding out of some things that she needed help with as well.
Yeah, that's it.
Her response was physical.
Yeah.
Mine was mine was cold and disassociation and selfishness.
Right.
So who's to say that my selfishness did not affect her
Right.
the way her hands affected me?
That's
Right.
Trigger.
So I had to look at me first in order to do that. So I tell a boy, like, let's look at you first.
Yeah, and that's so crucial. It's difficult. Why I say do it. Right? And in doing that, I had to do that and also learn how to forgive me for accepting those things and not being able to see, how come I didn't see that coming, or how come I didn't pick up on that, how come I didn't, that red flag that I saw however many years ago, how come I didn't do something about it then? So that's huge, looking at yourself. And it's okay, trust me, if you want that situation to change, look, like Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror.
Yeah, and it brought me back to my pen. Like I had to write it out. And I think, as a poet, sometimes we get some of our best work out for that. And I also started to write again because of that. Like I needed an out. I needed somewhere to expel this energy. Otherwise, it really wasn't. It wasn't working for me.
I can't wait till we got time for the poems.
Sure,
Did you have a question?
I did. I just one thing. So this just has kind of made me think about the fact that you were silent for so long.
Yeah.
The fact that you had said that there was psychological and emotional and verbal abuse before. It for me was like, okay, that makes sense that as a Black man that you would just kind of let that sort of roll off, because I feel like a lot of times Black men have experienced because of history, but over their lives, they often hear a lot of negative things about them, about Black men, and there's a lot of projection, right? Yeah. So when you get into these relationships where you're hearing the things that the world is saying about you from your partner, you've already normalized it. Right. So you don't even recognize that this language, the way that they're talking to me is abusive. Right. And I want to hear you, or I want to hear what you have to say about how we can, or how you would advise a brother to recognize that those words are not okay. Like the way that someone is talking about you, even if it's something that you have heard your whole life, like that part of it is abuse, and that is a place where you can draw a line. Like you don't deserve that as a Black man, especially.
Yeah, I think that there has to be a reckoning within that man that says, I actually am worth being loved.
That's the identity piece.
Yes, that's the identity piece. Even though I've messed up.
Got it.
Because guilt is what kept me silent.
Got it.
Yeah.
And so if a man can understand that even though you've messed up, it doesn't disqualify you for love.
Guilt about what though?
Guilt about me not keeping my promise.
Okay.
So from my type of mindset, I came in on this big cloud. I'm about to rescue you. I'm about to take care of you. I'm gonna be your man. You can rely on me. Right. And so even if her expectations were more than or under or right at, I didn't do what I said I was going to do.
So because I didn't, and this is what she's saying to me, I deserve it because I didn't honor my part.
Right. And then there's some unknowns. You have to take into accountability what may be being said in those moments. Because in the moment of passion, whether it's good passion or negative passion, when you start saying things in those moments, it helps to get what's being said deeper into that person's soul.
Okay.
And so you can be mad and say, you ain't this and you didn't do that, and how come you didn't? And like, well, that
right.
It doesn't justify all, but and so that helps to keep you quiet, and that's what built guilt in me that kept me like.
Got it. And so your response was to let the brother know.
To let him know that even though you may have messed up, you still deserve love.
Absolutely.
And she's not responsible for loving you correctly.
Absolutely.
You're responsible for loving you correctly. You have to take the time to learn how to love you, because if you don't know you and if you don't love you, you cannot expect anyone else to love you right. They're going to love you the way you tell them.
Right.
And quite frankly, a part of what I did and did not do was teach her how to love. Love, air quotes, me.
Did you know how you wanted to be loved?
I knew it, but it wasn't right. I knew it from the wrong lens.
Okay.
The wrong angle.
Right. And going back to my creator, the Bible says that God is love. And those who don't know love, don't know him.
Mm-hmm.
I was a Christian all my life, but I still hadn't taken the time to really have real relationship with him. I had to understand who God made me to be and look at me through his eyes so that I could love me through those eyes. So that now I can set a standard for the next person who's supposed to love me through those filters. Otherwise, I'm loving through my flesh. I love him because you look good, because you curved right, because you can cook. It's absolutely conditions. And God's love is unconditional.
It is. And that's deep and that's serious because in my reflections, I had to learn that.
Yeah.
And it makes it transactional.
Exactly.
And that's where that guilt comes in. And that's where her saying that I didn't get this from you, you breached that transaction.
Yeah. So we got another person said, I don't know why you put my government, but anyway, he said, Mary McGonagall, you think I can write you're sitting next to the lyrical surgeon. That fella's poems are mind-blowing.
Let's go. Now let's go.
Without further ado, right after this break.
Yes, that was great.
Attention, all divas, fashionistas, and ladies of style and sophistication. Lisa Danae's Diva Den is now open for your online shopping pleasure. We offer custom designs created exclusively for the Diva Den, including our Queen collection, specifically designed with you in mind. Choose from tees, tanks, hoodies, leggings, face masks, and home decor. Tired of those cookie cutter looks and boring styling options? The Diva Den can help you get your shine on. Visit us today at www.IAG Productions is your one-stop shop for event production, sales and marketing, makeup artist services, and entertainment booking, featuring signature events with Poet Goddess Fee and date and ladies' nights. We don't do boring, and we're not your average production house. We are women supporting women and pushing men toward greatness. Visit us on Facebook and Instagram at IAG Productions for more information or to work with us for your next event. And don't forget to mention Stunner Radio sent you.
It shows your girl Miss Mimi across the table is my homie.
We black owned. It's Latriga Deneen.
And our special guest.
It's your boy J. Kyle.
Yes, and so before we even go any further, we have to let him get his poem out because it is almost time to go, and I really want y'all to experience this. So get your snapping fingers ready, because coming to the mic, none other than the one and only Jay Kyle.
So my quick disclaimer is I made a boo-boo and I changed something right before we started. So if my flow gets a little rusty towards the end, my bad. Okay, so it's just called DV Blame. All right. He punched her. He slapped her and even tried to stab her. What kind of man would raise his hands to command his demands? This is a story all too familiar, and society would say that this man should be locked away, but I wonder if the story would be the same if he was a she and she was a he. What if she punched him? She even tried to stab him. Does it sting the same to hear that a man was a victim of domestic violence, or does she just get a pass because he probably fill in the blame? It's really all the same, and a shame when trauma can be marginalized, and this is why I must tell my story. You see, it's common in topic, but not topic and logic. I remember the sound of her fists banging beats in my head louder than a Bluetooth that left my ear ringing like piercing pagodas and mall mezzanines, had me questioning what the hell just happened. Shock and pain rushed through my veins as I tried to cover my face, keep us safe, and stop her while I was driving. This was the first time her voice and hands became the thunder and lightning to my brainstorms. I didn't have an umbrella big enough to keep me covered from the torrential downpours of fear and resentment that the cold front of our relationship was bringing in. I soon found myself hesitant to disagree for the fear of sparking a wildfire that would send periods of peace up in flames. My nights grew longer and the days were dimmer to the extent that speculation of her killing me brewed on my mental simmer. You'd think I'd leave, but unjust guilt is stronger than you'd believe, even after she attempted to stab me. Just leaving her was a concept that hadn't fully grabbed me. Fear, shame, guilt, and anger quarantined me into silence and submission. I was lost with no connection. But how? I'm a man, and this ain't supposed to happen. I can't fight back because the cops won't believe it was self-defense, and then the fight will be against the narrow-minded opinions of others. So tell me, where does a man go when he can't find a safe place to show face without disgrace? Where can he share his problems without prejudice? Are my tears not as severe because they disappear in the shadows of my beard? Do my hurts not count because when the violence started again, I ran out of the house? Although I was bigger in the body, I was weaker in the mind. I couldn't find my identity when I needed it most because I gave it to her emotions. I handed over my manliness to her manipulation. Do I blame her? At first, I did. But healing and growth has opened my view, so no, I don't blame her. I blame the drugs her mother smoked that stole the soul of a woman whose younger daughter was forced to live in hell because mommy would inhale her pain away. I blame her absent father who pushed her further into the streets, who schizophrenically raised her and then played her while older men used their hands to prey on her little innocence while their inner sins left the stain on her confidence. I blame them because they taught her again and again that offense needed no defense, and when she came of age, defense was her best offense. When her security was threatened, she was a victim way before she ever made me one. But I'm not done. I don't blame her at the source, but I blame her at the decision because she stood at the intersection of discretion and left the right choice behind her to move forward with rage. This is why it's morally criminal to make this type of trauma so minimal when it's a man's truth to bear the pain-filled shame. You either are not believed or seen as weak, and then we wonder why. The presence of real masculinity is lost in the shadows of broken identities. I tell you the truth, if not for God keeping my heart from getting cold, I would have been the winter to a summer's eve and a nightmare to some woman's dream. Isn't it ironic that abusive men are called dogs, but abusive women aren't called breeders? It's crazy that in the eye of society, without any proof, I'd automatically be wrong if I hit her, and she'd be more likely justified in hitting me. Tell me, where does a man go when he can't find a safe place to show face without disgrace? Where can he share his problems without prejudice? In full, responsible honesty, I honestly can't voice blame in one direction, because it was my choice of disobedience that drove death directly to my doorstep and delivered a decadent dessert of entanglement that I consumed to fill my belly of my brokenness. God told me no. But I said yes. I knew what I wanted wasn't the best, and yet I made promises to be a king to a broken queen, told her I'd be her everything, not realizing I only had enough to be something. I masqueraded as a leader but failed to lead her. I spoke up when I should have been looking down into the depths of my inadequacies before I acted like I was all that she'd need. Please understand. This doesn't justify the violence, but it gave incentive to be repentive and accept the grace needed to forgive her and myself, as I have allowed God to heal me and place me back on his shelf of usable vessels ready to be used for his glory through a trauma that is now my triumphant story.
With that being said,
You now have that on audio.
yes, yes, you have just
That
heard
was amazing.
the
What a
words
story.
of J. Kyle.
Yeah.
J. Kyle Grooming. Before we go, because time is almost up, please tell the people where they can find you.
On IG, you can find me at j.kyle grooming. That's the letter j.kyle grooming. You can also find another page, j.kyle grooming the lounge. On Facebook, I am J Kyle, Jaykyle. please follow me there. I have a YouTube. It is called Life Grooming the Channel. And then I have a podcast called Life Grooming the Podcast. And keep your ears posted because next week, the lifegroomingsuite.com will be live up and running, y'all.
Nice. That's awesome. Before we go, you got a love note for us?
Nope.
No love note?
I love y'all.
I know. I love y'all too. You got anything?
Hey, know your identity. Love God. If they hurt you, don't blame them first. Look at yourself to find out how to put yourself not in that situation again.
Yeah. And how to help people when you come across them because spirits speak.
Yes.
And once you start looking at yourself the way God looks at you, it will set you apart and you'll be able to help other people before they hurt people because hurt people do hurt people.
Yeah.
Girl, Miss Mimi, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, Mr. Owens, for coming through.
Thank you
He
for
came
having
all the
me.
way
Thank
down
you for
from
having me.
We will have you
Dallas,
back.
so
Yes, I
from
love
deep
you back.
town.
Yeah, that was a nice hour.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming through. Thank you so much to my girl, my homie.
Latrice Denise.
Yes, that's short for the
Love
Trudy.
y'all.
Love y'all. See y'all next week.
If you're looking for a keynote speaker for your next event, look no further than
Oh, that would
Thank
be
you.
good.
If you're looking for a keynote speaker for your next event, look no further than Miss Mimi of Mimi Speaks, specializing in panel discussions, women's luncheons and conferences, and fashion shows and trade shows. Miss Mimi brings her unique blend of experience and training to make a lasting impression on your guests and clients. With powerful, engaging, thought-provoking topics and presentations, Miss Mimi will provide your guests with meaningful takeaways and life-changing revelations. Also available for red carpet interviews and premieres. Email us today at iammissmimi@gmail.com for booking information. That's iammissmeme@gmail.com. If you're looking
There you go.
Visit